What is this?
Isn't he Mexican?
Colombian.
He calls himself American.
What is this?
𝒔𝒐𝒄𝒊𝒂𝒍𝒔.
And in this corner, it's the American Anchor.
Isn't he Mexican?
Colombian.
He calls himself American.
What is this?
𒒔𝒐𝒄𝒊𝒂𝒍𝒔.
And in this corner, it's the American Anchor Baby.
Daddy's home.
That's an offensive term. People find that hurtful.
You mean it's not politically correct? Excuse me. I'll use the word anchor baby. You know, he's an anchor baby in Canada.
Tell him we still rolling with Trump, too.
Anchor baby, the whole thing sounds horrific. You're just making it sound like immigrants are these horrific, greedy people.
Ustedes pueden aceptar mi negocio o aceptar las consecuencias. Plata o plomo.
So you would be considered white, in my opinion.
You the blackest one in this room.
I think so.
And what happened was his mama got pregnant on the other side of the border. And then a few hours before, just before it was time for him to pop out, she jumped across the border and let him fall on America's soil. So he became the anchor baby. They don't call him the anchor baby for nothing. Amazing.
We like this anchor baby, right?
Hello, I'm the American Anchor Baby, and this is my show. Thank you so much for tuning in. This one's going to be for the replay, folks. How about it, huh? We're going to keep it going, though. We're going to get rolling here. For the live folks who have showed up, thank you so much, the faithful. Appreciate that. We're going to get it rolling here. We got the clips coming out for the replay gang, huh? We'll get it right in the post-production. What's up, folks? Thank you so much on this lovely Thursday. Better get going here. We got a couple of things to talk about. I think it should be a good show. Fractured. Fractured is the word we can use for a lot of things in America today. Families, friends, neighbors, groups, I mean, that's how it goes. But it's not all bad. It's not all bad. The evil people are divided too. And there are moments happening right now that are dividing, shall I say the wheat from the chaff? That sounds a little too lofty. What the heck do I know about the wheat and the chaff? Maybe something, maybe a little bit. Maybe your host, along with all of you, can arrive to some insight here, huh? And I'm talking about many things, but the conversations surrounding the war in the Middle East as well. The region, as they say. It has, for me, been a similar moment. In that, there are a couple things I talk about on this show. Namely, the evil nature of man and their emotions and the mind. There's been a lot of talk about who our true enemy is in America. And there are political enemies, and there are all sorts of things we could talk about. Very true. But as the public is swayed this way and that way, I find myself paying attention to that, the force swaying people, because I know the enemy is within. And that all angry people are controlled opposition against what is good. Because emotions are the nature of Satan, if I may borrow a phrase from Jesse Lee Peterson. I'm on his network, and this is a network show, American Anchor Baby. You can call in 888-775-3773. We can take calls as well. Fractured, they say Jesus came to divide. You know, anger for me has made it clear, the litmus test of anger has made it clear for me that Hamas, angry Palestinians, people out in the streets yelling about this or that they aren't about what I'm about. But in these few weeks, I've been witness to things that I, wasn't totally aware about. And I think a lot of people feel like me as a person who's just thinking about America. Not too deeply on like history and peoples and all that. And we've seen in these few weeks what amounts to propaganda from both sides, but propaganda, nuclear terrorism, as Alex Jones called it. People, prominent supporters of Israel who basically threaten the West or the world with nuclear Armageddon. They call it the Samson option. Teaming up against white people. I even had a guest on my show, a man from Israel. He revealed to me that the Jewish people in Israel, they don't in fact get along with the Christians there. So it's been an interesting few weeks. I know some of you might be tired, but this is going to be a good one for a clip I'm going to make. So please, appreciate the patience. You know, Candace Owens, you may know her. She's a Daily Wire host. And she went on Tucker Carlson's show, which is free on X.com, now owned by Elon Musk, I believe still the richest man in the world, South African. And I thought the conversation truly summarized how I think a lot of Americans are feeling lately, in a very sober way, in a very clear way. And I know it's been a difficult conversation without it devolving into name calling. You hate, you're just mad, you're an anti-Semite, you hate the Arab people, etc. But I thought this conversation was very clear. And like I said, I think there are a lot of people with like me that we saw George Floyd and all that mess and Black Lives Matter and the total just ignoring basic like reality, truth. No, that person didn't have their hands up. No, that Derek Chauvin didn't just want to murder someone. It was at least an accident. And other things. Trump running and the establishment turning on him. And all he wanted to do was what I think a lot of people like me and viewers want. It's to put America first, right? So I want to get into this Tucker Carlson ex Candace Owens interview. There's a couple of interesting moments too. We're going to give it a little bit of nuance. But in general, the conversation was very interesting. It was very great. So we're going to jump into it. There's a couple of nuanced moments, right? But also the overarching conversation here. So I'm going to pull this clip up. I've basically broken down the interview into a couple of parts here. Nothing too, I kind of shortened it nicely. And we'll be able to digest this a little bit here and have some commentary, huh? What's up, everybody in the chat? I haven't said hi or even looked at y'all. Welcome, welcome. I see you over there on Rumble. I am streaming on rumble.com/American Anchor Baby. I am on dlive.tv/Gorgonzola. Thank you, everybody. That clip, Bill Burr and Nia, hilarious argument. Oh, that's from yesterday. Thank you, Games for Rec, and I see y'all. Thank you. Breaking news, my nickas. Snoop Dogg just announced he's quit the weed smoke, y'all. For real? I'm getting some breaking news from my chat before we get into this video here. Snoop Dogg, no, you're lying. He's trolling. Oh, wow, he's not. Snoop Dogg says he's giving up smoking after years of marijuana use. Wow. After much consideration and conversation with my family, I've decided to give up smoke. Please respect my privacy at this time. It's like someone died. You hearing this, Bill? After much, look at this. Look, we'll do a little segue here. We'll do a little side note tangent here. We gotta. Thank you, Troy, with the breaking news. Here's the very emotional post. After much consideration and conversation with my family, I've decided to give up smoke. Please respect my privacy at this time. It's like someone who died. Maybe someone is dying, Snoop Dogg. An identity. Couldn't that be possible? Shedding an identity. I'm a weed smoker. I'm Snoop Dogg. I gotta smoke weed. Today isn't April Fool's Day, says one commenter. I want to know, I'm trying to read this article, folks. I know we had a nice show planned. We're about to get into it, but I want to know why. He's moving to edibles, letting his lungs rest a little. Gotcha. It's his lungs. Don't want to give up just giving up the smoke, not the ganj. Anyways, thank you, Troy. Listen, folks, I apologize for the little digression there. But I was telling you about Candace, okay? She went on Tucker, and like I said, a great summary, in my opinion, on how a lot of Americans feel in a sober way that's very clear. Let's stop talking about it. Let's get into it. I do believe I have my clip here. And let us watch the first clip here. Do you know if that's going out, Bill?
Into the public sphere. The top performing post of the week was this post by Candace Owens, a far right-wing commentator and a favorite on Fox, denigrating George Floyd. Notice why.
Whoa! Is that really loud, folks?
No, you're oh.
Notice why they were attacking Candace Owens.
Sorry, folks. Arg, no, it's not going out. Billy. No sound, my chat says, Bill. What?
Give it a shot again.
She said, actually, the vaccine doesn't work very well and it may be dangerous. But I'm going to say, no, Ukraine is not. And for saying these things, every one of them is true.
Sorry, folks. This one's going to be for the replay gang. Thank you for chilling out in the live chat. I want to do this for a nice clip I wanted to make. So you'll have to bear with me. I might even have to start from the top in certain places, and because I want this clip to go out nicely. But for you people, you are all my guinea pigs. Thank you.
Play this again.
Play it again, you said?
Yeah. Okay, it's just not making it out. No, stop.
Say again?
Stop.
Okay, I stopped it. Yeah, thanks for showing up, guys. I mean, you guys can go somewhere else. It's all good. This is going to be for the replay.
All right, give it a shot again.
People like.
There we go.
People like Candace Owens and others have been
Shout out. Let me know if it's
putting
there.
out disinformation into the public sphere.
The top performing post of the week was this post by Candace Owens, a far right-wing commentator and a favorite on Fox, denigrating George Floyd.
Notice.
Beautiful. I'm getting reports from my chat that it is working. Let us begin clip 1. Let's go.
People like Candace Owens and others have been flagrant at putting out disinformation into the public sphere.
The top performing post of the week was this post by Candace Owens, a far right-wing commentator and a favorite on Fox, denigrating George Floyd.
Notice why they were attacking Candace Owens. What did she say? She said, well, actually, George Floyd was not murdered by a racist cop, much less by a systemically racist society. She said, actually, the vaccine doesn't work very well and it may be dangerous. She went on to say, no, Ukraine is not going to win the war against Russia. And for saying these things, every one of which is proven true, she was attacked as an immoral person, a racist, and a traitor to her country. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for
And
having
by the
me.
way, you're about to have another descendant.
Actually, yeah.
I have another descendant. You heard that? You know, Candace Owens is pregnant. A little more on that later. Jeez.
40 weeks, but I was not missing this. I was so excited.
so
I'm
nice.
honored to be here.
Yeah, so I was out of the country yesterday and didn't have adequate internet access on the plane to really follow this, and I don't understand the context exactly, but the internet was dominated yesterday by video of Ben Shapiro, who you work with at the Daily Wire, I think it's fair to say, attacking you. Here's the video. I just want to get your reaction to it.
Oh, yeah, there's a bit of drama, too. I kind of covered this yesterday, but you know about this maybe a little bit.
And then the question was about Candace Owens. I think her behavior during this has been disgraceful. Without a doubt. I think it's not yeah, I mean, she still works for my company. And I think she's been absolutely disgraceful. I think that her faux sophistication on these particular issues has been ridiculous. It's not faux sophistication, it's ridiculous. Everybody can see the moves that she's making and the things that she's saying, and I find them disreputable.
So maybe there's a point in the video where he explains what exactly you did wrong and how you were wrong. I haven't seen it. But to call somebody, quote, absolutely disgraceful, particularly a coworker, seems like a pretty big step. And I really don't know the background here. What is that about?
You know, there isn't much of a background. I saw the video when everybody else saw it when I woke up.
No one warned you about it.
Nobody warned me about it. It looks like maybe he didn't know he was being recorded. It looks like it was some sort of...
So, yeah, there's a little bit of drama here. You know about this maybe a little bit. I covered this yesterday. But you might be aware of the drama where, you know, Ben Shapiro, host of the Daily Wire, thank you, sir, had a moment there where he called out Candace Owens. But it wasn't really a call out, it was a private event. And, you know, maybe a little bit of feminine energy coming in here. It's like, well, I wonder if there's probably things she thinks that are disgraceful. But anyways, I'm lost. Look. A little bit of drama. We're gonna get into the really good comments here about the interview with about everything that's going on. But yeah, this is the preamble. This is how they started their show, talking about this drama a bit. But some good stuff is coming up.
A private event. I got no clarity on the issue that he was particularly speaking on, and in what was said, I can't respond to it beyond what he's saying because it's just ad hominem attacks. I don't know.
Yeah, because it's not, you know, we disagree, or I don't think she's correct, or maybe she doesn't know what she's talking about. It's absolutely disgraceful.
Yeah, exactly. And so I can't respond to it on a level of intellect because there's nothing that he has expressed in that, at least in that short clip, that he fundamentally disagrees with in terms of what I said. But I will say that I'm not going to respond with the same ad hominem attacks. Yes. I don't think it helps further discussion. And if that was me.
Hake in the chat says ad hominem attacks are legitimate. They can be true and valid. Yeah. This is like drama between Ben and Candace. I forgot to clip this part out. That's not that important to me. I think she's kind of being a woman about it. I mean, they should have. It'd be nice if they had like a debate or something. It'd be cool. No need to take it personally, I guess. I mean, it didn't seem like Ben Shapiro even knew he was being filmed. But what's important is what's coming up because a lot of people, like Candace, are being called things. Maybe not disgraceful, but they're being called anti-Semitic for simple things. Let's get into it.
I would be embarrassed. So I think that the video speaks more to Ben's character than it speaks to mine.
How are you on different sides of it? I haven't heard you endorsing Hamas, like you're not. No.
Well, I have not endorsed Hamas in any way, and yet people have interpreted things that I say, or actually rather things that I don't say. It's becoming very much reminiscent to me, and why I have used my platform to say this, of Black Lives Matter, where if you don't say anything, they say your silence is violence. If you say something and it's even-handed and it's nuanced, which is to say, you know, during the times of Black Lives Matter, you might say, I don't support police brutality. Who does? I don't support racism. Who does? But also, I think that police are a crucial part of every city. We need to have policing in cities, so these calls to defund the police are immoral and wrong and are going to lead to more Black deaths. People didn't want that nuance. When following George Floyd, there was no nuance. You had to explicitly say, defund the police. You had to post a Black square. If you didn't post a Black square on Instagram, by the way, specifically on the platform of Instagram, and you maybe were busy that day. Maybe you were in another country. Maybe you just didn't log on to Instagram. You were accused of being a racist. I'm seeing a lot of that behavior right now when it comes to the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, a conflict that I have seen every single person, including myself, condemn what happened on October 7th. Because who wouldn't condemn terrorism? It's obvious. Who would not condemn innocent Israelis dying? But if you then say that it is also sad when an innocent Palestinian child dies, suddenly this is pro-Hamas, or you need to say, even when you're talking about how sad it is that a child dies, you need to button that statement by saying, but that child was a human shield. That's not going to be my response. First off, as a mother, that's not going to be my response as somebody who is about to give birth. When I see these images of children involved on both sides of the conflict, I've pointed to the people that are mocking dead Israeli children and said that they are horrific. I am even keel on this matter, and yet people think that you need to be extreme. So people that have become more radical and extreme are perceiving a moderate stance as not enough. And
Because I was about to say, people can disagree with you or agree with you or whatever, but you certainly don't seem radical on this topic.
I'm definitively not radical. My stance has not changed in terms of whether or not America should be involved in this conflict. Whether we were talking about Afghanistan, my comments have been clear. They've been documented for years. Whether we are talking about Ukraine and Russia, my comments have been clear and they have been documented. I mean, you can go back to me even talking about NATO expansion before things erupted between Russia and Ukraine, and having a meaningful discussion about how much expansion is too much expansion. How would we feel if we had troops on our border? These are things that should be allowed in an academic discussion. You should be able to sit on stage and should be able to debate these ideas without using ad hominem attacks to say that you're a pro-Putin puppet or you're pro-terrorism. Even in the aftermath of 9/11, something that we all remember as part of my childhood. I think I was in 7th grade at the time, and I'm born in the New York City area, so this was a very big deal. If a person the day after 9/11 wanted to debate the Patriot Act, it's not fair to call them terrorist sympathizers.
No.
Actually, they would have been proven right in the long run. That act, we gave up a lot of our freedoms, and I think there was only one congressman, a Republican, that was against the Patriot Act at that time. So it's important, actually, when you start making decisions in a highly emotional time, that people sit down and have these academic debates. And there are people that are saying, no, it doesn't matter because people are dead, that you need to just choose a side, and that needs to be it. It needs to become tribal.
Wow, thank you. This is such a salient point for me. The emotions of the American public, Congress, politicians post 9/11, and the mistakes done afterwards. It's such a salient point. She says there was only one, and I believe that's true, at least from just looking it up. Not like I remember, but Russ Feingold, the lone U.S. Senate opponent of the USA Patriot Act. You got to imagine that for a second, that there was only one person who could foresee that this Patriot Act would be used in an evil way. And now, of course, we have retrospect and we could say that that is true. But it's a lesson. And that, for me, is an important one. It's what I talk about on the show. The emotions afterwards and the mistakes that people made. And the First Amendment. You see, what she was saying about the nuance of Black Lives Matter is so true. And a lot of people feel this way when defending white people, for example. They get called race traitors. Meanwhile, we're really just calling out an injustice. That is plain to us, that is ignored institutionally in schools and in jobs. Calling it out. It'd be the same if it was somebody else. You feel me? It's because it's right. And it's so true that it doesn't matter how much you condemn or anything, you'll have people like Thomas Massey, and he dared to say, well, you know what? Maybe these lobbies that are all about a foreign country, yeah, you know what? Maybe I don't support them. And he gets called an anti-Semite for that. Where was Congress? The House voted overwhelmingly to condemn anti-Semitism and support for Hamas. Where were they when, Ilhan Omar, for example, was saying our country should be more fearful of white men? You see what I'm saying here? People want to then, they'll call me white supremacist, anything, race traitor. And they'll want to lump us in with actual, hateful people. Of course, there are angry, hateful people. But we're not about hating or violence. Can't we just say that we care about the country? So I thought that was very, just clear. It's almost like it's almost like this is the conspiracy side. This is just like my head canon, just like making stuff up. But it's almost like it's like the right, certain people on the right. They said they were looking at the landscape of the right and the youth even on the internet, unleashed by X.com, and they say, "Wow, a lot of people are mad about this. They're going into all this stuff. They're hating the Jews. They're like, okay, there's conspiracies here. Let's like discuss this in a sober way, you know, like release the pressure." I know that that's like a dog whistle, I think, a pressure release, but I don't mean it like that. I mean just like it's a good thing. These things need to be discussed and debated and allowed to be at least discussed, like Candace was saying. You can understand that a lot of people have gone into crazy zone. They were pushed there almost by the censorship and the mama emotional nature trying to tell everybody you can't say that. Well, you can't say that. Right? Right, folks, let's continue. Huh? What are you saying in the chat? I'm seeing interesting chats. I shouldn't do this right now. Anyways, let's watch clip 2. I think Nugget Man said it's a shame that Candace's husband let her work or something like that. I saw some chat earlier. We're gonna get into that, okay? But look, we're doing this right now. Let's watch.
Also, I can't help but notice that your views reflect mine. I would say pretty much. I'm an American. I was horrified by what happened on October 7th. I think it was pretty strange. I don't really understand how it happened, but innocents died, and that's awful. And I hated watching that. And I feel so sorry for the Israelis who were killed.
Mm-hmm.
However, there's an emotional response that is disproportionate, I think, on the part of some commentators. I mean, our country's being invaded right now by millions of young men whose identities we don't know, who probably don't even like America, and they're now living here. Over 100,000 Americans die every year of fentanyl. I've known a couple. Those are real tragedies. I've never seen anything like the emotion from any commentator around those tragedies as I'm watching about a foreign tragedy. I think that's odd.
I think what tends to happen is, of course, we all have elements of selfishness within us. And so when it particularly pertains to an issue that impacts you, I was strongly speaking out against Black Lives Matter as an organization very early on as a conservative because I understood what the implications were going to be of defunding the police.
Right.
It was an issue that was important to me. I created an entire documentary to talk about this issue.
Yes.
And I held on for a long time, and people began to see that actually I was telling the truth, and now we have more death in inner city communities than we had before.
Yes.
These riots and these George Floyd protests calling for defunding of the police. And I think in terms of this, that's what's also happened is that people that are pro-Israel are pro-Israel, a lot of them, because they have family members in Israel.
I get it.
They have homes in Israel.
Yes.
And so they feel very attached to this issue. And, you know, I was very happy.
It's like, that makes total sense, right? That makes total, like, that there are people who are in America that have family in Israel, Like, that just makes sense, right? And that's why I like this conversation here. It's just so clear. I think it's summarized a lot of things in these past few weeks. I don't think an honest person, you know, unless you're like a hater or something, you wouldn't go around saying, well, you wouldn't go around not understanding people. Switch my camera here. Holy. You wouldn't, it's like if you were an honest person, you would understand people caring about Israel like that, right? Where was I? And wanting to defend it and their right to do that, right? Very clear. Okay.
To host somebody who was pro-Israel. He's a pro-Israel comedian on my show the other day. And I explained this to him. I said, you know, you are demanding that we have this same response that you are having about what people are saying on college campuses. The rhetoric on college campuses hasn't changed. Did you not remember what they were saying, what professors were saying? the anti-white explicit racism that was happening, and not even just allowed in terms of student protests, but was written into the curriculum at these universities for years. People were learning this actively in school, that whiteness was associated with wrongness. You had college professors that were writing about this need there need to be less white people in America. You can find these articles. They exist online.
They're everywhere.
They're everywhere.
And that seems genocidal. I mean, if you're saying...
It is genocidal.
Like, by definition, if you're saying being a certain ethnicity or race is itself a sin and we need less of you, I mean, that is the definition, is it not?
Right. It was an understanding of needing to breed out white people. It was unbelievable what I was seeing, and I was impacted by it because I'm in a biracial relationship and I have biracial children.
Thank you guys for standing up for what's right and the injustice against white people. And that's nice of you, Candace. She says she has a, she too has a deeply vested interest in defending whites. And when they were saying these horrible things about whites in the schools, they're trying to get rid of them. They're saying there's an inherent evil. There's got to be less of them. And she feels deeply about it because she's in a biracial relationship. Wait a second. Aren't you part of the Browning, I wish them well, huh? That's a joke.
So you are telling me that my children are going to have to decide between whether or not they are white oppressors or they are black victims. It doesn't stand for me. So I was attached to this issue, and it's something that I fought for hard on college campuses, and there was no support. There was nobody talking about, well, this is what needs to go. These kids need to go onto blacklists. And by the way, if they did speak that way, I would have disagreed with it because I am pro 1A. I believe in the First Amendment. I believe that kids, by the way, are naturally stupid. In case people forget, I started on the left, right? Yeah. So if you found me in college, you would have found a pro-life person who believed, in some racist principles, fundamental racism in America, because that was what I was being taught systematically in the classroom. And then I got to grow up and change my mind. And I don't think people have thought past their immediate emotions to consider what's going to happen when you put these kids on blacklists. You think that's going to bring them over to the pro-Israel side when they get older? Most of these kids, especially when you're talking about the cream of the crop at these Ivy League universities, already have access to money and wealth and connections. And so maybe debating the issues and explaining to them why it was wrong to sign this specific letter, which didn't call for explicit violence against the Israelis, but it actually was very poorly timed, and it blamed them for what happened, which would have been horrific. Imagine after 9/11, somebody issues a letter on college campus that says, oh, well, sorry about the fire department.
I agree. Yeah, I get why donors are mad.
Imagine,
and by the way, I support donors giving money to things they agree with.
Yes, I support that.
I strongly do.
Yep.
The part that... And so I have no problem with that at all. You don't like it, don't pay for it. Good for you. However, then I thought, well, wait a second. If the biggest donors at, say, Harvard have decided, well, we're going to shut it down now, where were you the last 10 years when they were calling for white genocide? You were allowing this. And then I found myself really hating those people, actually. You're okay with that? On what grounds were you okay with that?
And this is what I've been trying to explain to the pro-Israel lobby, that what you are seeing as lack of support is people that are asking the question is, where were you as we have endured all of this?
You were paying for it, actually.
Right.
You were paying for it.
You were paying for it.
You were calling my children immoral for their skin color. You paid for that.
And
so why shouldn't I be mad at you? I don't understand.
And so that is, obviously you have a ton of white people that are asking this question, and they're now being called anti-Semitic. And I think that that's wrong. I think these are meaningful questions that deserve to be answered. Why was this sort of verbiage allowed into the curriculum? I mean, could you imagine if in the curriculum it said that every Jewish person born is a terrorist? This is systematically what has been said.
I would be totally opposed to that.
You're learning this, not even just, by the way, at the college campus level, in high schools. I've covered this on my show at high schools, that they are now allowing children to stand up in an auditorium during, not Black Lives Matter week, during, what is February? Whole month of February, African American month. I'm totally, Black History Month.
Black History.
I was like totally blanking. I'm like, what is February? Black History Month. They were allowing at this very elite school $50,000 per month. To attend this school, per year to attend this school, for these children to stand up on a stage and yell in an auditorium. Black kids were allowed to be on the stage. White kids were sitting down at this elite school, and they said, you don't know what we lived through. You don't understand how your whiteness impacts me. This is going on in New York City right now. That is explicit anti-white racism that is happening. And I covered it on my show extensively. Nobody cared. There was no bus calling these kids anything wrong. And so trying to explain that of why people maybe are not reacting with the amount of vigor that you would like to see is now being interpreted as anti-Semitism. So everyone's being called anti-Semitism.
It's a little bit like watching the city of San Francisco in the week before Xi Jinping shows up become totally clean, sparkling clean. There are no junkies or rapists on the street. And you feel like asking the authorities, well, wait, you had the power to do this, but you didn't? You had the power to stop racism at Harvard, but you didn't? Why are you not a criminal, actually, for allowing that? I don't have you asked anybody this? Like, direct? Have you asked a donor this? I've been trying to get one on the show. I support what you're doing. It's great. Don't pay for what you don't like. But you did like the white genocide stuff. You're kind of okay with that, huh?
Right. And I've even asked, did you use your platform to speak out against it? Because I've been speaking out against this for years. And now you're demanding that I use my platform to focus on a conflict that's overseas.
Yeah.
And the answer I tend to get is no. I didn't talk about what was happening. I didn't realize it was happening. So it actually is quite a selfish viewpoint, which we all have. We're all guilty of it.
I get it.
We write ourselves into the storyline. How is this going to impact me? And that is, I think, is why it feels existential for other people and not existential for people that have been dealing with this for the last decade.
Very fascinating. Thank you for sitting through that. We just got 2 more to do. They won't be as long, but I still think equally as important. And that's such a good point. I mean, emotional responses here. This is kind of what really gets me. All this emotional response, and this same emotion causes people to to not think straight and read into things. Because this isn't about blaming Jews. All blamers are losers. All blamers are losers and won't get better. They won't. It's not about that, but you heard Candace use a phrase I never really used before. But you know, like I said, these 4 weeks have been like a revealing moment, and it's not so much. And for me, it's emotions and allegiances, if you will. And she used the phrase pro-Israel lobby. It, in my opinion, a good one, because it's not about blaming Jews. Blamers are losers. Blamers have anger. Blamers aren't going to fix anything. Blamers are not America first. Blamers hate God. Blamers hate Jesus. But it's not about blaming. That kind of makes it a little clear, because there are groups and money in politics, in the government, in Congress, that have sway. And but I thought this, like I keep saying, this interview was very clear, sober-minded. Tucker Carlson and Candace agree. Well, you should be able to donate to what you want to. Should be able to support what you want to. Should you have family over there? It's all understandable. But it becomes a little clear, at least for me, when it seems to me like they were okay with all this was taught in schools. It wasn't just, like Candace said, it wasn't just protest. This was curriculum in schools to children. To children, that they're evil for being white. Overtly and subvertly. You know what I mean? Like, it was overtly said at times, articles, but at times it's just a general atmosphere. And this is kind of what people have woken up to. When I saw people going after Trump, I saw the media lies. I saw that it was something, I knew something grander was going on when there was that many lies and such a fervor to lie about a topic or a person. I saw conservatives and Christians, they're the butt of the joke at every turn. Anything that's identified as such, as conservative, as white, as American, or as Christian, already had attached to it a negative connotation. And so, can you blame whites for seeing anybody calling someone else a name like that as part of that same group? Anybody doing that? People calling whites anti-Semitic. Using those words, isms, using those fake words to control, to manipulate, and to instill fear. Racism. So you got to understand them a little bit. Where were they when they were calling them racist? As we all know, racism does not exist. Great. Let's do another one here. We're going to keep it rocking and rolling here.
What we're seeing right now.
Let's go. Tucker Carlson, X Candace on X, part 3.
Now is things that are being perceived as a discrimination, and it's not discrimination. I'm just treating you the same as everyone has been treated. And throughout at least my dialogue and the things and monologues throughout the last 6 or 7 years.
Yes.
And I do also want to say that I find it particularly despicable, as I have said on my platform, when people who are pro-Israel are now being called anti-Semites for asking meaningful questions. I talked about Charlie Kirk. Charlie Kirk, following the attacks on October 7th, turned to the Israeli government and said, how did this happen? You know, he talked about Israel being the size of New Jersey. He's been there many times. He funds thousands of students to go there and to visit. He's honestly radically pro-Israel, I would almost say. It's probably a fair thing to say about Charlie Kirk.
Yeah.
And he was asking these questions with the intent of, if these were your children and they were involved in this horrific attack, wouldn't you want to know these answers? He's like, you can't move 5 feet without seeing an IDF soldier. I've been to Israel, and that is a fact.
I have too, a number of times, and I admire their border barriers, and I always have. I always think, I wish we had that. So that's a totally fair question.
Totally fair question that he asked, and it got interpreted, and then there were suddenly these attacks asking the question of whether Turning Point was seeping with anti-Semitism, and how unfair to, after all of the work that he has done to support your cause, to turn your back on him and to call him an anti-Semite because you don't like a question that he asked that actually was being asked from the heart and with a little bit of rage toward this even being allowed to happen. We always have to hold our governments accountable in how they are responding.
And plenty of Israelis, some of whom I know, are asking that question, and why wouldn't they? You said a minute ago that one of your concerns about having a news story or a public conversation defined by emotion is that it allows the people in charge to change our lives and to take away our civil liberties because we're so distracted by the rage that we feel or the sympathy that we feel. I mean, these are some good feelings too, but we can be manipulated during moments like this. Here, case in point, here's a woman who is running for president, the former governor of South Carolina, Nikki Haley, explaining that because of these attacks on October 7th, the rest of us need to register with the government in order to express our opinions online. Here she is.
When I get into office, the first thing we have to do, social media accounts, social media companies, they have to show America their algorithms. Let us see why they're pushing what they're pushing.
This is why this matters, folks. Don't get lost in hating. Don't get lost in blaming. This right here is why this matters. Let's watch Nikki Haley.
In order to express our opinions online. Here she is.
When I get into office, the first thing we have to do, social media accounts, social media companies, they have to show America their algorithms. Let us see why they're pushing what they're pushing. The second thing is every person on social media should be verified by their name. That's, first of all, it's a national security threat. When you do that, all of a sudden, people have to stand by what they say, and it gets rid of the Russian bots, the Iranian bots, and the Chinese bots. And then you're going to get some civility when people know their name is next to what they say.
So Nikki Haley, this has been noted online, but it's not her real name, of course. It's a pseudonym. And so she's not even using her real name and telling us that we have to register with the government under our real names in order to give our opinions. That's obviously contrary to the First Amendment. I don't know why the anchor didn't say something about it to her, but sort of nodded, oh, it's accountability. But it's fascism, actually. So, like, why isn't Nikki Haley getting laughed off the stage?
Well, Nikki Haley is someone that I would describe as radical. She's a radical in this moment, and she's trying to present her opinions as not radical by hiding behind a terrorist attack, and it's not going to age well. So right now in this moment, people are like, this rhetoric is totally fine. You're going to look back in a year, people are going to say, actually, this was kind of crazy, some of the things that she said. You know, she, in my view, has become increasingly radical every time she even hits the debate stage. I don't even know, what country she's running for president in.
Right.
And I think 𝒏𝒊𝒄𝒌𝒔𝒕𝒓𝒄𝒄 called her out accurately. And based on even my own personal experiences with her, which I've documented on my podcast, as somebody who isn't looking to actually win president, doesn't want to become president of the United States. What she's looking to do is to secure certain contracts after she leaves the stage and she loses. And so for her, the motive are relationships that she's going to build and money that she's going to earn, as best evidenced by the fact that when Nikki Haley left her ambassadorship, she was broke, and now she's a millionaire, multimillionaire. And you have to ask how that happens. And Vivek Ramaswamy has had the courage to talk about her contract with Boeing. So the
only people defending the First Amendment, the foundational right, the right that precedes all other rights, which is the right to say what you really believe and prove you're not a slave. The right is the only group that defends that freedom. And now they're not. Now they're saying, well, actually, maybe you need to register with the government before you're allowed to talk. So if the left's obviously opposed to the First Amendment, now a lot of the right is opposed to the First Amendment. So, like, how do we keep the First Amendment?
Yeah, I think this kind of is almost what Trump was referring to when he talks about the swamp. You know, they get a little taste of what they can earn for themselves, and they kind of go further into this, and it actually doesn't become about America at all. And I think at this particular moment, you are seeing a fracturing on the right. There are people that are pro-America, America first. I am a person that considers myself pro-America, America first. And it absolutely makes my skin crawl when people try to tie America's success to what we have to do overseas. I believe in national sovereignty. I believe that America has what it takes here at home to be a great nation. And actually, I think history sort of tells us that once we started this campaign of international liberalism following World War II, things kind of started falling apart, especially this a steep decrease following the 1960s, without question. I mean, socially, morally, economically, this has been a nation that's in decline. And so I cannot stand when I see these politicians on stage emoting and saying sentences like, we can do both. Look around you. Does it look like we can do both? Where is your evidence to support the claim that America can do both? Because I'm looking around and it's very clear, it's very obvious that we cannot do both. Our children are failing academically. People are fearful to go into inner city communities. We have people that are suffering from depression, overdosing on fentanyl. We're fundamentally an unhappy nation because we don't have an identity because of these things. We don't have an identity. We've completely lost what it means to be an American. It is why I feel very inspired when I hear someone like Vivek Ramaswamy speak and talk about American principles. I hate the way that they illustrate their opinions about people that want that old America, that are nostalgic about that America. When someone says, and I've heard of this statement, and I can't remember who said it, but you can't be pro-American unless you're pro-Israel. I just thought of the person who's probably in West Virginia who had both his legs blown off, right, fighting overseas, who is pro-American, and you're telling him that, no, unless you agree that every single war should be everywhere, you're not pro-American. We've lost our identity. I mean, that's completely a foolish thing to say. And I say this as somebody who, if I was going to be radical anything, I'm probably radically pro-UK, right? I married a Brit. My children have dual citizenship. I would never utter the sentence that to be pro-America means to be pro-British. I love the Brits. I love everything about, I love being in the United Kingdom, but I know what it means to be pro-American. It means to be pro-American.
I couldn't, as someone who's ancestors from the UK, I couldn't agree more.
Nice. So this is why this matters. The October 7th thing was Nikki Haley's justification for basically getting everybody's name. And what was her reasoning too? Then we'll have some civility, she says. And that's why she says that twice too in different words. That's the real reason. She's sick of all this discourse. People could just say anything online and be mean and just call people stuff and spew out misinformation and conspiracies. That's why. And the reason is because of the female nature, okay? Now, it was great what they were talking about, truly. I mean, they're talking about the First Amendment. And now it's being attacked from both Republicans and Democrats. It's incredible stuff. I know when I started doing this, that's how I saw Republicans. The only ones fighting for the First Amendment. But the other thing is, too, is they're saying the only people defending the First Amendment. Well, the only people, too, is white people. And it's them being attacked. And it's just such a great example of the swamp and how the establishment turned on Trump. So it's all true, but like I was saying about Nikki Haley and the female spirit, You know, Candace Owens, she says, well, we can't do both. Admonishing politicians who are trying to have it all, right? Do both. Admonishing the politicians who say, well, we can fund all the foreign stuff and fix our country eventually, ... as we wait, as it gets worse, as we wonder, is anybody doing anything in Congress for us, for the people? Are the American people sovereign? Is it the government is it by the people? What's going on here? Trying to have it every way. You know, where was I? She's saying, our children, she says. Meanwhile, these politicians are doing all that, but our children, they're uneducated and all that. There is another one of the main things I talk about on this show is, you know, Candace Owens said that people forgot what it means to be American, but you know what else is? We lost what it means to be a man. And it was men who made America. And it was the men who established the country and led it. Okay? And I see Candace Owens in a strange position. You saw that she's pregnant, right? I see her situation, how do I say, a strange one. I wonder if she had the chance to do things over. Maybe I'm just reading too much. What I'm trying to comment on is the fact that she's a mother, like she says. And and the importance of men. Okay, look. What I'm trying to describe is her interesting situation. I think she, in many ways, is seen as, and I think she is, an asset for the conservative movement. And even in this situation, she's speaking very clearly, in my opinion. Making a lot of sense. I appreciate this interview a lot. I'm sure a lot of people see it. There were some responses even, not directly to this interview, but in the wake of all this, there was even big names like Elon Musk getting into the conversation. Saying things that will change the public conversation. We're going to get into that. It will change the public conversation about a lot of topics. So I think, it's great. And in many ways, she's an asset. But she's in a strange position because she could be doing all this work and, not be a mother. I know now she's pregnant or already has kids and is married and all that, so it's a little too late for that. If she didn't have to. My point being that in these cases, invariably, even with money, there is a sacrifice made in the home, no matter what. Any way you slice it, there's a sacrifice in the home. And the order of God is one of the most perverted things in America today. Man over woman, woman over children. This order is so important. And it's so easy to miss because you look at Candace Owens, you'll think, that's not, okay, well, it can't be that bad. She's not going to her kids are going to be in school. They got money. They can make it happen. At least she can have it both ways. She can have it every way. You could do the work on your show and do the work at home, kind of like these politicians she was admonishing, saying they want it both ways. They want to do the foreign stuff and fix the country. And the thing is, you could look at someone, Candace, and say, well, it can't be that bad, right? And you know what's fair? You know what wouldn't be fair to say? It would not be fair to go around predicting and assuming what would happen with her children and her family. That being said, I don't care who you are, how much money you have, what is going on, how smart you are, how Christian you are. If the order is not correct in the home, the children will suffer. There's something wrong. Only the right thing will work. You can have all the correct positions politically. You could read all the Thomas Sowell you want. But But the reason we lost men, the reason we don't know, she said we don't know what Americans are. Well, we don't even know what men are. It's for that reason. It's for this reason. So, you know, like I said, it's a strange position because I wonder if she could do it over. Would she just focus on what she's doing and leave children for later? Maybe she wouldn't. I'm not saying she would, but it'd be like a good if Candace was next to me back then and she asked me in this fantasy, that might be my advice. Hey, maybe right now is not a good time. I mean, the children are going to suffer. We're talking about fixing the country, right? And this is a deep part of it. Am I making sense here, folks? So, I mean, I like Candace. I like her, especially what she's saying here. I mean, it makes so much sense. It's such a sober. It's a sober conversation in this emotional time. It's made a lot of things clear for me. Do you guys see it the same way? But anyways, it's that female nature. What else is that I want to say about the female nature? Because she's out here saying, as a mother, she's like, as a mother, I wouldn't do this. And it's like, she's drawing on this, not realizing she's drawing from that same place Nikki Haley's drawing from. You see what I'm saying here? You know, the drama between her and Shapiro. Hey, from what she said, I mean, I'm Team Candace, I guess, but politically speaking. But this is like the same female nature I'm talking about. If you saw the whole interview, I cut this part out. She's talking about, oh, well, I have a great relationship with John Binkley and all these other people at Daily Wire. And if you watch that moment, it's totally like you got to understand, Ben Shapiro made the Daily Wire. That's his thing. Can you blame him for not wanting to? We're allowed to criticize him, right? We're allowed to criticize the Daily Wire and be like, hey, what are you about, America? What's going on? That being said, it's like, if you're the creator, and now apparently, according to her, he may not have such power at Daily Wire like he used to, but you're allowed to have, like, the people on your team got to be about what you're about. So it's kind of subversive. It's kind of this woman subversiveness where she's going around Ben and saying, well, I'm friends with this guy and I'm friends with that guy. So F Ben. Blah, blah, blah. You know, I really like what she said about focusing on what matters, blocking out the noise. And this is what matters to me. You know, anything else I want to say about this? I mean, you guys are following me. It's easy to miss because it's like she's put together, and I'm sure they got the money and all that, but in ways that you can't measure, but in ways that many of my viewers can relate to because they have seen it in their own lives. The upside down nature in the home is one of the most toxic, destructive forces of all time. Of all time. You feel me? Paola, thank you for the super chat. What the? What's up? What's up, Bao? That's not family or anybody. Don't worry. It might be. I told my family not to be in my chat because people are nasty. They're going to find you. I'm going to block you. Bao. What's up, Bao? I got a super chat. Thank you for that. Being enlightened till I rise, man. Thank you for that. Appreciate the support. You guys follow me a little bit here? Did I make all the points I wanted to make about women and Candace? I think she says something in this next clip that, or maybe we haven't finished this clip.
What we're seeing.
I think she says something in this next clip that had me commenting further on the female, on the order of God. Like I said, it's a strange position for her because she's doing great stuff in a sense. Anyways, I kind of lost my train of thought there. Let's watch this last one, huh?
You gotta kind of wonder
because she mentioned, you know, they mentioned the establishment, they mentioned Trump, and how a lot of this stuff going on is reminding them. Wow, I can't click this. Is reminding them of how the establishment turned on Trump. Okay. I'm trying to... Can we play it? Okay, here it is. Yeah, they turned it, how a lot of what's going on reminds them of how the establishment turned on Trump. I thought that was a very interesting commentary. Let's get into this.
You got to kind of wonder where this is going now that, basically no one in the establishment in Washington is for the frontrunner in the Republican presidential primaries. Trump gets the nomination. Like, what happens then?
I think you're going to probably see the same things that we saw in 2015 and 2016. I think there has always been a never Trump contingent.
Right.
It has manifested itself now as pro DeSantis. A lot of the never Trumpers became, very pro DeSantis.
Yep.
Some elements of it, obviously, people that are war hawks, people that want to kind of keep the military industrial complex going
Right.
everywhere,
People who
have
endorse
always been anti-Trump. So,
hate speech laws.
yeah, hate speech laws that are dressed up as something more noble. And it's like, no, this is actually a law that is fundamentally anti-speech. And if you want to debate that, we can, and we should have that debate. But it, again, always seems to be reduced to smears and libels and not an academic discussion, which it should be. So I don't think this is new. I think it's just kind of reappeared as something else. And we have always had these people. Will they, when they get to the ballot box, vote against Trump principally? Well, they did it in 2015 and 2016, and it didn't have an impact. And I think in 2020, they probably, I don't know if they cast their votes for Biden. I don't know that they would. I have taken myself out of political prognostications entirely.
Yeah.
It's very difficult, I think,
Wise.
now. Yeah, because I obviously am always hoping that America wins at the ballot box. People that are focused on American initiatives are focused on wanting citizens to be successful here, not making them feel guilty about wanting to feed their families, not making them feel guilty about what they're seeing at the gas station that they can't afford, despite the fact that they do what they're supposed to do day in and day out. They wake up, they go to work 9 to 5, and the government is taking everything and telling them that there's some new moral crusade. Every time you blink, there is a new moral crusade. How many have we lived through in just the last 2 years? COVID, it was a global moral
But
crusade.
food prices are never a moral crusade, I notice.
Never. God forbid you want to be able to afford a pack of bacon for your family. God forbid you say that publicly. Depending on what time of year it is, that makes you a grandma killer, that makes you whatever, a pro-Putin puppet, it makes you an anti-Semite, it makes you a racist. We get it, okay? We still would like to focus on our families. We still would like to put American principles first. So if there's no further argument and it's just going to be smears and libels, we like to turn the chapter and get talking about how we can actually do that, how we can actually fix America.
Who do you listen to?
Nice. So that's this. You can watch the whole thing on free on x.com. Like I said, I thought it was a sober conversation about the whole thing. If you watch my show, we're not about hate or blaming, but I like when things are clear, and when smart individuals speak clearly in a time of such confusion. Tucker Carlson said that Trump's greatest sin was calling out the war establishment back when he was running in 2016. And I think the years following have proved that. And there's this consciousness rising, okay, not just politically and people in politics who are following all this stuff. I know you all have your lives as well. The soon we won't be just doing Israel on the show, although we've touched on other things. We're going to get into something interesting here in a moment. But I know you have your lives, but there's a consciousness rising, not just politically, but people are noticing things. Tucker's saying, well, how are you going to put my children through that? And where were you when that was going on? Alex Jones, he was like, that's it, I'm done. I mean, when you come after my children, I'm done. When you come after my children, he's talking about all the racism talk in schools and all that. There's this rising consciousness. There's people are talking, and I see your super chats. I'll get to all of them. Thank you. Elon Musk even got into the ring here, into the conversation. There was, let me pull it up. Very interesting. Elon Musk, you know him. He's the owner of X.com. South African American? Is that fair to say? Father to 5 boys, I believe. There was a post. I don't know who this person is. I don't know why Elon decided to comment in this thread. But there's someone named Charles Weber on Twitter, on X.com. And he is a Jewish man, apparently. Oops, sorry. Didn't press the button. To the cowards hiding behind the anonymity of the internet and posting, Hitler was right. You got something to say? Why don't you say it to our faces? That's how this thread starts. This person here, artist formerly known as Eric, not sure who this person is either, responded to this tweet. These tweets now have millions of views. Jewish communities have been pushing the exact kind of dialectical hatred against whites that they claim to want people to stop using against them. I'm deeply disinterested in giving the tiniest ish now about Western Jewish populations coming to the disturbing realization that those hordes of minorities that support flooding their country don't exactly like them too much. You want truth? There it is. And that was the thread, a little bombastic thread. Elon Musk responded to this man, to this individual artist formerly known as Eric, and said, you have said actual truth. This has got the internet kind of blowing up a little bit. Oh, Elon Musk, anti-Semite. No. It's kind of blowing up a little bit. And what was I? I lost my train of thought. It was significant because this is kind of what, there's a consciousness rising. Right, exactly. There's a consciousness rising. And they start touching on it here a little bit. Coming to the disturbing realization that those hordes of minorities that support flooding their country, et cetera, et cetera. That's why you got to overcome emotions and anger. You would have been able to tell those are your enemies. You would have been able to tell. And Elon Musk says, you have said actual truth too. This little tweet has already got him in trouble. Elon Musk was set to speak at an event called APEC CEO Summit. Seems like a pretty big summit of a bunch of CEOs. Elon Musk is the richest in the world. Elon Musk is replaced at the APEC CEO Summit session due to, well, they say it's a scheduling clash. A day after he was branded the world's richest bigot after agreeing with an anti-Semitic post. Now, you know, we don't want to make assumptions here, right? Maybe it really was a scheduling clash. But he was called that is true. That, however, is true, being called an anti-Semite for responding to this post. You can't defend white people. And that's what people are waking up to. And even further, some are even waking up to the evil of anger and the conspiracies Satan has been playing in the minds of man since the beginning of time. I'm seeing it. It's subtle, but it's there a little bit. Jesse Lee Peterson gets mad love from some of these young guys. If you're out there paying attention like I am, big names. Some people I've spoken to, in fact, online. Some people I've spoken, some names that you'd be surprised to hear. I'm not going to say, I don't want to put their business out there, but some people who you'd be surprised are big supporters of Jesse Lee Peterson. Fear is a thing, folks. And anyways, teaming up with Jesse sometimes brings a little bit more heat than you want. But look, it's out there. I'm seeing that appreciation and what Jesse's saying incorporated. I don't know if you guys see it. So it's not just Elon and Candace here and all that, but people are waking up to hate, and that they hate white people. And you got to understand too, what Candace is saying, what Elon is talking about, what Tucker's talking about. People have been majorly banned over these things. And I'm only come into these past few weeks over this war. A lot of these things have become a little bit clear to me. Anchored by the truth that anger is evil. You must not hate. You must love all people, even your enemies. But people like Nick Fuentes have been banned, like beyond banned. I used to hear some of this stuff. I don't really watch his show too much. But I'd hear some of the stuff he said. It seems pretty clear to me. pretty sober-minded. And then I'll hear some of the things people said about it, and I'm like, dang, I don't know what to think. Is he hateful? I don't know what to think. So, I mean, I didn't really care. But we're seeing some of this wheat chaff moment here with this war and the politics and all that. This is what I mean about the public conversation changing. Elon Musk's, this little tweet here, Elon Musk's, this little tiny little tweet. Kind of significant. Fascinating stuff, don't you think, folks? Nick just Elon Musk confirmed JLP watcher. It's probably Doom Jesus Carver. You think Doom Jesus is a frequent person in my chat? You think Doom Jesus is Elon Musk? That's an interesting theory. Very funny. Fascinating moments, don't you think? Fascinating times. Awareness awakening, and Jesus came to divide. The division is not all bad. The evil people are divided in the House and Congress. And through it, those of us paying attention are seeing, I mean, at least a little bit, some truth in between all this darkness. Don't you guys think? Focus on what matters, block out the noise, Candace Owens said in that interview, and I agree. Very cool. I mean, that's pretty much that. Let me read some of these super chats. There's something I want to get into here that I don't even know how I'm going to do this. But there's this like vibe as of late. They've made simping cool. They've made it like cool, actually. And we all know it's not cool, but there's a modern man. There's a modern man coming about. And I'm going to show you a little bit about this. But I want to thank my super chatters here. Thank you. Appreciate that, Paula. Appreciate that, Jessica. Thank you for the super chat. Says, what's wrong with not picking a side and staying out of it? And if you feel the need to say something, just state exactly what Donald Trump said. I just want the killing to stop. Right on. Makes sense to me, Jessica. Carver, thank you, says, Candace, a grifter. Do not trust anything she says. She made some sense, though, Carver, huh? It's not about allegiance to Candace. It's credit where it's due. Even with Trump, stay an individual. Keep space between all people. Right on, Carver. And I believe that's all for now. Thank you for the lemons and ice creams over on dlive.tv/Gorgonzola. I pledge allegiance to Candace Owens, says Hake. How do I show you this? We talked a little bit about the God's order, man over woman, woman over children. And there has been a sort of a modern man. I think Drake started this. This tortured by the allure of women, but you know that there's something wrong, but you can't help it. But I'm gonna do it anyways. But I'm gonna do it with love, and I'm gonna show them love, and I'm gonna, because I am aware, because I admit that I'm broken for wanting just bad women. I got an addiction to bad women, to baddies. The context being that kind of makes you kind of a badass a little bit. I'm addicted to baddies, but I admit it and I'm aware about it a little bit. So it's kind of cool. There's this. I'm going to show you a video here. His name is Jidenna. Musician, rapper, person. Continuing this sort of it's hard to describe. I saw this clip and I wrote that I recorded the link here and I wrote nothing else. So this is stream of consciousness right now. I don't know how I'm going to present this, but let me show you the clip. Jidenna, American rapper and singer. speaks about robbing women of their baby-making years. Wow. I thought men were you know, a bunch of dogs. They just want one thing. They would never say something like this, especially a rapper. Let's watch.
I robbed some women of their baby-making years, dragging them along. They built me up. Look at me now, and look at them. If you were creative, I folded you into my artwork. If you were in my artwork, I gave you a job. I gave you a job. I mastered your life. I gave you a house, food, everything you needed. I protected and provided for you. I did what men are supposed to do. You know, I remember different quotes I said, like, just like really manipulative things to say, like, no one's gonna love you the way I do. My God, I'm ashamed of it. And that's what makes me angry when I see my brothers do that. We can't do that to the women that have done so much for us to even exist. And I saw myself for the first time. All the things I'm saying now, woo, horror. Bit by bit, I stripped myself of my former self. And I swore that the next relationship that I would get in, I would work as hard at love as I worked in my career.
Right on, Jidenna. It sounds like he is paying attention to a little bit. Something's just not right. And he's robbing these women of their baby-making years, but they built him up. And he's like, no, I get mad when my homies do like that. It makes me mad, brother. Like, you gotta love these women. You're hating them. You gotta love them. And there's this like vibe that, I don't know, I think it's coming from like Drake and stuff, that it's like this tortured lover boy, this tortured lover. And like I said, okay, there's something wrong. It sounds like it's somewhat like, oh, I'm getting rid of these identities. What did he say? So I'm getting rid of all these old versions of myself. It sounds kind of deep, no? So right on, Jordan. I hope if you're on the path or whatever, make it happen. But there's something strange here. Oh, they built me up, but he's talking about he gave them everything. He gave them a job, a home, everything. Where are they if you built them up? Where are these women? Why'd they leave? I'm going to work as hard at love than I did in my career. That sounds like a drag. What? That sounds horrible. I'd rather be alone. I gotta work. That's what a man's supposed to do. Work as hard as love. Because that's what us men, we're just not working hard at love, fellas. We just want the sex. We're so selfish. We gotta give more. Even though he's giving these people houses and jobs in the industry. Are you seeing the fracture here a little bit? Again, Jidenna, I hope you're doing well. I hope you're really paying attention. But it seems a little bit like bragging too. This tortured lover boy. Look. I think a lot of guys, especially now, they're kind of waking up a little bit. Maybe all this sluttiness isn't good. But you're not really helping. Like, you're not really helping going all into her like that. That's more of what you're talking about, Jidenna. Working as hard as love than I did in my career. Those things don't work. I don't know if you guys have noticed, but that doesn't really work. That sounds like a drag. That sounds like something that will die. It's supposed to be natural. This relationship stuff. It's supposed to be natural. And it's supposed to be purposeful. The purpose is children. The purpose is children. It's not, let me find someone who fulfills me, is my other half. You could be an example, and in many ways, a marriage has to have a sort of direction, okay? Either is it going towards hell or out of it. You feel me? Like, and that only happens when at least one is got the light. Their eyes aren't on the other person, but only on themselves. The eyes are on their emotions and how they react to the person and to life. So you could be an example, but you're an individual. And you can't save someone. And so what sobers you up and anchors you back to reality is the purpose. The purpose is children. The purpose is children. So anything besides that is a LARP. You're joking. Here's another thing. I know this is true. And don't go judging yourself, okay, folks? But if you're a guy and you have a girlfriend, all that, and you are doing the sex thing before time, I'm going to keep it general because I think you'll understand me. If you do the sex thing before time, any way you slice that, you're using. It's a manipulation. It's a using. Even if it's a little bit. But at the same time, the other side of the coin is she's an individual. She has her own thing. She's not this little tulip. I know this men, it's our responsibility, and we've basically taught women it's okay to be slutty, and they're out here working. They're out here getting pregnant, and I don't know, maybe Candace is happy, hunky-dory, but there's women out here on TikTok saying, I got to work 9 to 5, and it's like a mess. I know people they're joshing on these ladies, but I think these girls are talking about what we're talking about here. They shouldn't even be in the workplace. So they're not like tulips, though, saying, you see the vibe of this tortured lover boy? The vibe is, you got to do more. We're not doing enough. No, you're being a woman. You're being like feminine. You're putting on the stuff. You're looking the part. You got to do it all. And yeah, it gets the ladies. But that's what your focus is. Getting the ultimate focus is still, how can I get her? How can I get her, be the alpha, get her to like me, get her to see me as a man, It's all perception, not the cup, the inside of the cup being clean. Oh, they built me up, and what did I do? I just took from them. No, it was mutually evil, man. And that's more of the simp, but they made simping cool. Isn't this simping? Am I wrong here? This has already gone too far. Talk about cart narcs or something. You know what I'm saying, folks? It's like tortured lover boy. They made it cool. That's the mindset that's keeping you and Candace apart, Nick. You got to put in the work. Why are you guys shipping me and Candace Owens? What's going on here? I'm just aware of this now. Stop that. Stop it. Stop it right now. So that's what I had to say about this. Who's this freak? This is kind of my little take on the tortured lover boy vibe. It just feels like simping all over again. I mean, the whole thing is supposed to be a little bit simpish. Marriage, relationships. So what I'm talking about is not really conducive to that. You'll just be alone, but you'll be free. Anyways, shout out to everybody who's trying to have babies. Wishing you all well. Relationships are one of the most powerful pursuits. There is a lot to them. There is companionship, drama, potential, stability, and the cherry on top, sex. They are really powerful vessels of ego. Very interesting. Everything is fake. If Nick and Candace had sets, it would look like Hassan. What's up with this? Nick wants to give Candace a little kiss on her big forehead. What's wrong with you people? What's with this? What's it called? What do they call it? What do they call it when they write fanfics? Why are you guys writing fanfics about me? Stop fanficking. No more fanfics. No more Owens Gonzalez fanfics. That's enough. She's married. Don't She's married, okay? She is serious about swirling, as they say. Oh, she is going to swirl. Oh, Candace? Oh, she's going to swirl. Oh, it's her second baby. Right on, Chris. Yeah, I'm following you. Everything is fake. That's an interesting point. Just talking to my chat here in the last few minutes of the show. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it was clear. I hope I was at least somewhat clear, as trying to be as clear as Tucker and Candace Owens, right? Great little thing there. Jidenna. The upside down order. I mean, they're literally promoting. I know this is dumb. And some of you already know about this, but Adam 22. I mean, this is why it's important. I mean, not because they need to stop. Not because Adam 22 needs to stop. What I'm talking about, if you don't know who I'm talking about, is they say it's the coolest podcast. No Jumper, host of No Jumper, Adam 22, is married to this lady, this female lady. It's unreal. No, it's unreal. Lena, whom, I mean, basically he let her have a sex with another man on a video. And it's like, that's your wife. And this is promoted. This is on the internet with millions of views. They basically now have like a reality show where he's bringing on some characters that you might even know. I've showed this guy on my show, Crip Mac. Keep it 55th Street. And others on like a sort of reality show fighting who's going to have sex with his wife. I'm sure he's yucking it up. Oh, look at everybody so offended. But we're making money. And I don't even get what these people are about. I don't know. Adam 22 may not even know himself, so it's not a judgment. People are blind. But it's the destruction of the family, man. And it's like promoted and glorified. Like how many people watch this and they'll say, so gross, but inside they're like, but if I had the chance though, I don't want to show this. It's probably gross. But kind of a little cherry on top there to maybe bring it home, huh, folks? Appreciate you being with me today. That's the show. American Anchor Baby. More American Anchor Baby. Wait, American Anchor Baby. It's already Nick's stream tomorrow. Wow. We got Nick's stream coming at you tomorrow around 4 p.m. We're taking a flight. Don't miss it. Follow, subscribe, hit that notification bell so you don't miss it. Because it's Friday tomorrow. Friday. Open Line Friday with Jesse Lee Peterson. The Hake Report. More Hake Report. And, of course, Nick's stream. We're flying Anchor Baby Airlines. Don't miss it. Should be a nice flight. Got some fun stuff to get into. It's going to be a fun one tomorrow. Folks, have a great rest of your Thursday. I shall see y'all. Will I see y'all? I'll see y'all tomorrow. Bye.